Hello and a very warm welcome to this week's edition of Reporters here on France 24. I'm Thomas Waterhouse. This year has been one of the driest in living memory across the Horn of Africa. Severe drought conditions and the shortage of food and water have plunged families into destitution, with some 17 million people now facing famine. In the self-declared state of Somaliland, rivers and wells are empty, the bones of cattle litter the ground, and the harvest has turned to dust. Aid agencies are doing what they can to help, but because this region isn't recognised by the international community, it can't tap into funds from the World Bank or the IMF. Our team have been to meet some of the many men and women struggling to survive. Julie Dungelhoeff and Nicolas Germain report.
This is a new city. This is not the city that I grew in. Everything has changed. It doesn't look like it used to be. So when I came back, I had to start from scratch.
Dr. Yusuf was born in Burao, in Somalia, 57 years ago. In 1991, after a bloody civil war, the town became part of Somaliland, a self-declared republic.
After being away for years, for a few decades, as a matter of fact, I decided to come back because it's my country, it's my people, after all. It's the place that gave me life. It was very important that I come back as a doctor and help people, my own people, with what I can.
Dr. Yusuf returned to Burao 3 years ago, just as a disastrous drought hit Somaliland.
Unfortunately, we lost 2 kids last night here in this stabilization center.
There are not enough beds in the hospital for those suffering from malnutrition.
Asma, look at the hair. This is what happens when kids are malnourished. The color of the hair changes and they are brittle. That's what happens to them. Severe malnutrition. So.
Because of the drought, I didn't have any more milk in my breast. So I could only give water to my child.
So irritated, so malnourished, so sick, coughing, he's got pneumonia, he's got diarrhea, and he's not well. So we don't know.
How old is he?
Mr. Chiruya, 1 year old. You can see the mother is malnourished as well.
In June, 30 children died in this hospital because of the drought.
Why did you use traditional medicine?
The health centre lacks modern equipment.
When you see kids, you feel helpless. Then you can't do anything to help them out. And you see them in this situation. So it makes, as a human being, as a doctor, as a father, and as a human being, it makes you angry. It makes you more than angry.
"17 million people face famine in the Horn of Africa. Somaliland has been particularly hard hit. We travelled east to the driest areas, where most of the people are nomads.
Because of the drought, we have to walk hours to find drinking water. I have lost more than half my livestock.
Almost no rain for 3 consecutive years. the consequences for Somaliland's 3.5 million people have been catastrophic. Today, a mobile clinic has come to the village of Ilkamo.
18 families affected by malnutrition will be chosen, and each will receive $115 a month.
The NGO Save the Children initially thought it would be a short-term program. But 6 months after it first arrived here, locals still need their mobile clinic that comes every 2 weeks.
This is what you need to give him. This is a follow-up appointment. That's his file. When he arrived, it was a case of severe malnutrition.
I came here before because this child was sick. You gave me the biscuits, so for a while he took them, but he continued to vomit and have diarrhea.
So you took him to a doctor?
Yes.
Where did you take him?
To Barao Hospital, where he stayed for 10 days.
The enriched peanut-based food given to the children means they don't have to be hospitalized.
You take this one twice a day, this one once a night, this one twice a day.
Twice?
Yes. Degmo Abdullahi is 80 years old. She lives just outside the village.
This is summer. We have a lot of wind. Somalis call it naurish. It used to be beautiful here. Now it's like this because of the drought. These are the dead bodies of my animals. Only a few carcasses remain. The majority were set on fire over there. It's the first time in my life I've seen so many animals collapse and die. Within 4 days, they got weak and collapsed. My life was good before. We had a lot of goats. This is the first time I've faced such hardships. We had no savings. We never thought this would happen. One neighbor had 500 goats. Only 9 survived. Now I had 185 and 8 survived. It's the same for other families. No one had savings. That's how rural people live. We buy water, food and clothes. We don't save money.
Degmo used to sell her animals here in Barao. Before the drought, it was one of the biggest livestock markets in East Africa.
These are for local consumption. We sell them to people in town, to restaurants and hotels. All this area used to be full of livestock. It was completely packed. There used to be animals everywhere.
Most of the animals in Barao are exported to the Gulf states. The sale of livestock represents 80% of Somaliland's economy.
It's a deal.
Before the drought, Saudi Arabia used to buy many animals. All the animals brought here would be sold and then exported. Regularly, around 20 to 30,000 animals were sold in Burao in just one day. Today, it's only 50 or 60. It's a huge difference.
With fewer animals on the market, prices have gone up by 20% in recent months.
I've already sold that one to someone else.
Sell it to me.
No, it's sold.
What about this one?
It's an old tradition. Traders pinch each other's fingers until they reach a price they can agree on.
740,000.
Give me the money.
740,000 shillings or $80 for one goat.
This is how we do it here.
We head to Hargeisa, the capital. Somaliland isn't recognized by any country in the world, but it has a democratically elected president and government. The environment minister tells us why the authorities don't put more money into tackling the drought.
45% of our budget goes to security as a nation, unlike any other country, because we have to make ourselves secure first. Otherwise, we can't live. There's so much surrounding this nation. We are not getting, bilateral or multilateral funds. For the last 25 years, we were struggling to reach where we are at the moment. It's not easy. It's not really easy.
The government says international recognition would help it deal with its many challenges, and above all the devastating drought that has killed most of the livestock and forced thousands of nomads in Somaliland to settle in makeshift camps and change their way of life.
Well, Nicolas Germain, who worked on that report, joins me now on set. First of all, Nicolas, talk us through the conditions on the ground during the filming of this report.
Well, when you're a foreigner in Somaliland, you need to have an armed escort of 2 police officers whenever you want to leave the capital, Hargeisa. That's a rule. And as a result, the security situation is very stable. They drive alongside you. They help you go through the checkpoints. And as a result, the last major attack was in 2008 in the capital, Hargeisa, an attack by Al-Shabaab. Since then, there have been no major attacks. And of course, this is in stark contrast with the situation in Somalia, in Mogadishu, where you have regular attacks by the jihadists Al-Shabaab. In 2017, there have been dozens of attacks in the capital, Mogadishu. But of course, this stable security situation in Somaliland comes at a high cost, because half their national budget goes to security, which means less money for development projects and the struggle against the devastating drought that you saw in the report.
And politically speaking, Nicolas, why is Somaliland not recognised by the international community?
Well, many believe that if the African Union recognised Somaliland, then the rest of the world would follow suit. But to many African leaders, they fear a domino effect. They feel that if they recognise Somaliland, then many regions across Africa will ask for their independence, and they don't want that. What other analysts are saying also is, if you look at the last 2 cases where regions became independent, that's South Sudan in 2011 and Eritrea in 1993, they're not exactly success stories. If you look at South Sudan, there was a terrible civil war, there still is, and you have hundreds of thousands of refugees pouring into neighbouring countries like Uganda. If you look at Eritrea, it's an authoritarian regime with an indefinite national service, which means that thousands of Eritreans flee the country every year. But Somaliland says, listen, we have a strong argument for independence. Since we declared our independence in 1991, we've brought peace, stability and democracy. It's true that it's a much more democratic regime than in the rest of the region. And they say, look, the West, you've given millions of euros to Somalia in the south, and you still have chaos and attacks, regular attacks in Mogadishu there. So we really deserve our independence. And what they're saying, of course, they need this recognition, because this recognition for them would mean access to the major donors, which are the IMF and the World Bank.
Okay, Nicolas Germain from our Africa desk. Thank you very much. And do stay with us here on France 24. There's more world news and headlines coming up.